Oda is finally back to dropping bombshells as we get a glimpse of the cursed prince and unofficial king of the giants, Loki. In Luffy's words, someone hella powerful. But chapter 1130 goes even further by hyping up just how strong Loki really is, potentially even being one of the strongest characters in the entire series, as after killing his own father in King Herald, he stole his legendary devil fruit and now claims the title of Sun God.
You're joking. Not another one?
Alright, I know. I think we're all tired of hearing all these fake sun gods. But this time is different, I swear, because Loki's rendition of the sun god is about to bring Ragnarok. And unfortunately for our Straw Hats, they are split up again.
Oh, here we go again.
Frankie's group is looking around trying to find the gang, but it's a complete dead end. Even Jinbei's shark came up empty-handed, nothing but seawater and disappointment. So Frankie tells the giants to call it a day and put their faith in the crew to meet them in Elbaph. After all, Luffy, Zoro and Sanji are sticking together, so they're pretty safe for now, right? Well, we jump to Luffy's group, who just busted their way out of Rhodes' diorama, only to discover they were inside an even bigger castle. But outside, it's the real deal. The land around them has real snow, real forest, and the castle has a long bridge connected to a huge tree branch up in the sky, indicating that some of the giants live on the branches of Yggdrasil, which is a throwback to a mix between Norse mythology and the fable of Jack and the Beanstalk, where giants lived in the castle above the clouds. And of course, fable backwards is Elbaph. Isn't that cool? It never gets old, does it? Okay, I need to stop. Now, a key note is that this tree could also be referred to the Adam tree, as Adam is literally the forefather of all mankind, connecting everyone together. Yggdrasil is inspired from the world tree that connects the 9 realms of the Norse universe together. This could also indicate that Yggdrasil is the official entrance to Skypiea. Regardless, as they travel, the Straw Hats suddenly see someone crossing the bridge, and so they hide. It turns out to be Goldberg and Gerd from the new giant warrior pirates led by Heirudin, meaning they are allies of the Straw Hats and are part of the Straw Hats' grand fleet. However, Gerd is frustrated that Heirudin let such a weirdo like Road join their crew, with Goldberg defending him, saying that he's a good navigator. But Gerd is having none of it. She even goes as far to call him a greater shame of Elbaph than Loki. Now, what the hell does that even mean? Wasn't Loki a respected prince? To the point that Big Mom wanted Lola to marry him with the hopes of finding an alliance with the giants. If we look back at Oda's illustration, the prince seemingly had enough respect from his people. And remember, he was the one who proposed to Lola before getting rejected. This kind of showcases that either he was out to get power or he actually genuinely fell in love with Lola? I don't know about that one. I'm taking a piss. But for reals, we'll soon come to know why he was after power and how the alliance with Big Mom made more sense. Regardless, the real reason Gerd and Goldberg are even here in the first place is because her giant owl Piper saw Rhodes' crow carrying off a ship. They state that trespassing is illegal in Elbaph, and Rhodes has a habit of taking nearby ships, claiming them as trespassers so he can lock them up in his castle. Now, honestly, I hated this whole road misadventure our gang had to take. I feel like it was a waste of 2 chapters, but I get it. Oda Sensei loves to do these wacky introductions to force Luffy into progressing the story. This writing style works, as the world of One Piece is huge, and realistically, having the gang all together will only allow a linear movement and won't allow Oda to explore different parts of his world. But still, I hate Road, and I'm not alone, as Gerd remarks that if she sees him kidnap anyone else, she will report him to Ural, the elder giant we saw from Big Mom's flashback, who now should be around 408 years old. But since trespassing is illegal in Elbaph, Nami suggests they should play it safe and stay hidden, even if they are technically allies. Now, I'm certain Luffy isn't the type to care about these things, but again, Oda is trying to rush to an important story element. So as Goldberg and Gerd knock on the castle door to call for Road. The Straw Hats run across the giant bridge and leave the area. Below the bridge is a forest and many giant wolves. However, on the way across, Luffy stops as he has been feeling something for a while. His observation haki is on full blast, as along with Zoro and Sanji, they feel a scream of a man so powerful that every fiber of their bodies are reacting to it. In fact, they were feeling this pressure even when they were inside Road's Block Kingdom. Luffy, of course being Luffy, wants to check where this insane haki is coming from. Sanji says he will stay behind and even stops Zoro from going with Luffy, considering that he always gets lost, especially in a massive forest like in Elbaph. So without thinking twice, Luffy jumps down from the bridge to the forest below, splitting the group even further. On that topic, back at the Giant's ship, we finally get bounties! No, not the Straw Hats. Big news, Morgan drops more fake news, reporting that after awakening from their 100-year slumber, the giant warrior pirates have allied with the Yonko Straw Hat Luffy and attacked Egghead. Both Dory and Broggy, sharing the title of captain, received a bounty of 1.8 billion berries each. I know that these guys are legends, and the 100-year gap inflation is also a consideration, but that's already way more than Zoro's. However, we still have yet to receive the Straw Hats updated bounty. Let's not forget Zoro punked Lucci and stood up against the freaking Gorosei. Likewise with Sanji. But most importantly, Luffy's bounty at this point needs to be over 5 billion. He beat down an admiral, slapped up 2 Gorosei, and got away from the Buster Call. Also, if he is being blamed for Vegapunk's supposed death, it won't make any sense for his bounty to remain the same. There's no way he's not more dangerous than Shanks to the world government, especially after the embodiment of Joy Boy and having the sun god Nika fruit. Emu was also forced to bend the knee and even replace a loyal and ancient subordinate in Saturn. 5 billion is a given. The only logical reason that might not happen is because Emu and the government doesn't want too much heat and attention on Luffy, hence why they were pissed when the picture of sun god Nika Luffy was mass printed with his 3 billion berry bounty. It's pretty obvious that Morgan is playing with fire. He's trying to provoke the government by showing these images, all while still printing news that keeps the government's name clean. Remember, he knows about Emu through Wapol, which is why he purposely shared a picture of Nika Luffy again whilst lying that he killed Vegapunk. Morgan's big brain play to make Luffy infamous is for a grand plan. He knows that the government will try to hide the idea of sun god Nika under the rug, but if Luffy becomes the biggest public menace, the government will be forced to address and give him attention. The whole world will be looking at their response, much like when Ace was executed. The government is also currently on thin ice, where even within, factions will be forming. Leaving aside swords, the vice admirals present in Egghead now knows the truth, and obviously Saturn's actions didn't really help. Regardless, Robin catches something surprising on the picture of Luffy. This image on the newspaper shows him having an X on his arm, something which isn't normally present when he transforms into Gear 5. However, Robin vaguely remembers where this is from. Unlike the others on the ship, from Jinbei to Frankie and even Brooke, none of them saw this before, whereas Robin had. It was quite a while back, but it's so iconic, and if you don't know what it is, then you're not really watching One Piece. This mark was added by the gang during Arabasta so they could tell each other apart if Bon Clay, who was a bad guy at that time, tried to impersonate them. This of course would end up setting the touching scene where they showed that no matter the time or distance, Vivi would always be part of the Straw Hats. Robin notes that unlike the picture, which is blurry, this X is not, meaning the only other person who knows about this X in Vivi is sending a message and is currently safe and sound with Morgan. Throughout this, Robin is mostly ignored by the giants as they realize that Luffy and Shanks are now on equal standing, whilst even one of their younglings is part of Luffy's fleet. In a way, this is Oda telling us that Luffy is getting one step closer to fulfilling the promise he made to Shanks. However, we ain't done, as these giants just dropped a bombshell of a bombshell that Hyrule is still a son of the king.
What?
Yep, he is a prince and the older brother of Loki himself. This revelation is actually huge, as it confirms the theory that Hyrule is actually based off Odin from the Norse mythology. And unlike the Marvel universe, Loki was never the son of Odin but his brother instead, which fits into this perfectly. To add to this, just like his Norse counterpart, Odin always was tagged along with a raven, and we know that Hyrule's subordinate road has a raven or crow named Mugen. Moreover, Hyrule's name, which consists of Udin, sounds very similar to Odin, and in Dressrosa we even see him use a move Gungnir, which is the name of the original Odin spear. All of this goes to show that Hyrule might just be the next rightful king of Elbaph, and in turn placed under the protection of the Yonko Luffy. My boy's collecting territories like it's some Pokemon cards. In fact, Hyrule had such respect, he wanted to join the giant warrior pirates in fetching the Straw Hats from Egghead Island, but sadly he had to stay behind because of the troubles in Elbaph lately, so only the seniors could go. The giants explained that whilst Dory and Broggy were absent, Loki did an unspeakable act which threw Elbaph into chaos. He killed his own father, King Harold. Why? Well, for a devil fruit. To be fair, it's not just any ordinary one, it's a legendary one. This power is usually passed down in the royal family. Considering Hyrule is the older one, he would have likely gotten it. So, you can't really blame Loki, I guess.
I beg your pardon?
Now it's not clear whether the king possessed the power of the devil fruit or just locked it up in a treasure box or something. But if he did have the power, then the whole idea of stealing devil fruits could have originated from Elbaph itself. Like if there was a fruit passing ritual, I'm pretty sure Blackbeard would have learnt it. Remember, you don't have to have Blackbeard's power to steal another man's ability, as we saw with Jesus Burgess, since he had planned to kill Sabo and have his fruit spawn in the bag of fruits he was carrying around. We also saw this happen when the Smile monster in Punk Hazard died, and its Akuma no Mi spawned to the closest fruit. There is also Doflamingo, who received Ace's devil fruit, likely because he himself carried bags of fruits, as he believed either Whitebeard, Ace, or some strong devil fruit user would have died during the war, and so he planned ahead. Which brings us back to what Loki must have done. In Norse mythology, Asgardians and giants are two different races, so Loki and Odin were not blood related until they performed the blood ritual, which tied them as brothers, since Loki was a giant and Odin was an Asgardian. And as we know, Loki was the god of mischief and caused a lot of havoc, similar to his counterpart in One Piece. In fact, the giants even said when he was born, he was called the Accursed Prince. But if you've not forgotten, in chapter 866, in Big Mom's flashback, when she was in Elbaph, Prince Loki was just born, and to follow tradition they wanted to celebrate his birth by thanking the sun for his growth, but they did this by fasting. This obviously affected Big Mom pretty bad, and she went on a rampage, which led to the death of Ural, and was a very devastating time for the people of Elbaph. So maybe through some conditioning, people might have thought that Prince Loki was unlucky, so on and so forth, and then he went to the dark side. So there might be more to this, like following a prophecy. I mean, the original Loki got Odin's son to kill his immortal brother Baldur, and it's immediately after his death is where Loki gets imprisoned. Sound familiar? Loki's imprisonment in both laws is what starts the end of the world. In the original mythology, he escapes his imprisonment and joins the giants against the Asgardians, thus triggering Ragnarok. And now it's all coming together. So either for power or prophecy, Loki in One Piece took his claim and possessed a devil fruit considered to be a legendary amongst even the giants. On top of that, Luffy feeling his strength can give us insight to Loki's haki being insane. All of this is further elaborated when we learn all of the warriors of Elbaph was needed to detain Loki. On top of that, Loki has made efforts to free himself, and they need the strength of every warrior to restrain him. To put things into perspective, Dory and Broggy were shown dealing with the goddesses with relative ease. Though not being able to defeat them, they stood their ground. And now we find out that there is another giant, a young blood, who is stronger than all the warriors in Elbaph combined. But what makes things worse is Luffy ended up finding the scream he was talking about, and it was none other than Prince Loki himself, with a massive double spread page revealing how huge he is. Like, what the hell was Oda smoking when he showed us Loki proposing to Lola before? He seems to be wearing the regular giant warrior outfit, but in his buckle belt there is a Jolly Roger with a crown. This could be his own crew of giant pirates. Loki's eyes are bandaged, which could imply that whatever devil fruit he ate not only gave him a massive power boost, but also could have something to do with his eyes or vision, such that the giants had to make efforts to conceal them tightly. Or maybe he just got clapped and he needed some bandage, who knows. But Luffy, in typical Luffy fashion, when asked to introduce himself, he says he's the man who's gonna be the king of the pirates. The term king catches Loki's attention, likely thinking that he is the only one true king. When Luffy questions his whereabouts, Loki reveals that this is Warland, the mighty kingdom of Elbaph. He then finally introduces himself as Loki, the sun god who will bring about the end of the world. With this crazy statement, we finally get a look at Elbaph in all its glory. Elbaph is a landscape of mountains, the colossal tree Yggdrasil standing right at the center. To just put into perspective how huge this tree is, there are a community of giants and castles built upon the branches of the trees, along with a humongous sword that is resting on the second layer of the tree. The idea that sun god Nika might have been a giant is making more sense by the minute. In fact, this sword could have been stretched by Nika himself. Otherwise, how the heck did someone make it? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to check this out next.